There was a ruling late last week where the people building a planned new headquarters for Amazon and for other companies in Cape Town were ordered to stop work because a judge said there had not been proper consultation with members of the Khoi and the San indigenous people communities. The court says that without this consultation, the right to the culture and the heritage of these indigenous groups is under threat, and particularly the rights of the Khoi and the San First Nations peoples. Tariq Jenkins is the spokesperson for the Indigenous Peoples Gorengai-Kona Kwena Council. Tariq, good afternoon to you. This must be a big victory for you. Why did you bring this court application?
We brought the court application firstly because of the serious concern around the current desecration of a very intense heritage site. This is an epicenter of liberation and resistance for the Khoi and San, a place where the frontier wars broke out in 1659. It is also the place land in 1657 when the Dutch East India Company gifted its employees through the use of title deeds these farms. So together with the extraordinary intangible resources that are at stake, and the fact that, as you know, aspects of it have been destroyed because of the ongoing development. So we welcome the decision by Deputy Judge Goliath to halt the destruction so that we can proceed with the review. We will challenge the development in its entirety for its.
All right, we're losing you a little bit. It is an important conversation. We want to be able to do this properly. Tariq, let's just see if we are able to hear you clearly. So the judge has said that you should be consulted. From what you've said, your consultation, should it happen, you will simply say this development should not go ahead at all. Is that right?
Yes, we believe the development should not go ahead because for environmental reasons as well as heritage reasons. The proposal of putting 150,000 square meters of concrete bulk on a floodplain is illegal, and we would see that how the city of Cape Town and province have bent over backwards to accommodate Amazon, which is the anchor tenant led by, in this case, Liesbeek Leisure Trust, their plans. We are also very, very concerned about the fact that the old Liesbeek Channel is currently part of it has been infilled, and from an historical perspective too, the threat of very severe and sensitive intangible and tangible heritage resources on a site that is currently being graded by the South African Heritage Resources Agency for national grading, and a site that President Cyril Ramaphosa himself with cabinet approved as the National Khoi and San Liberation and Resistance Route, and part of this forms a slate to UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. So for these particular reasons, we feel that this development cannot go ahead. The scale of it is completely inappropriate in terms of the Two Rivers Urban Park being a country of a highly sensitive environmental nature, and also the nature of this development goes against the symbiotic relationship that the San and Khoi has with its environment, with the riverine systems and with the cosmos.
Okay, so if you win in the end, and I don't need to remind you, you're taking on Amazon here, one of the biggest companies in the world, run by the richest man in the world. In your view, what should the land then be? It would be part of what you're talking about, the way that it's been declared. What use would the land then serve? What would you do with the land if this development does not go ahead?
First of all, to have the grading proceed so that the intangible and tangible resources are then protected under the grading, which is important. Secondly, this site will form part of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for the San and Khoi. It is a place where land was stolen for the very first time. It is where private property itself emerged in this country. It is a place where Jan van Riebeeck put up his first militarized fort that started and precipitated a whole range of wars of liberation and resistance over 200 years, which resulted in the unrecognized genocide of the Cape San, an extirpation of indigenous animals like the rubak, the Cape lion, but also it holds in many ways the keys in terms of restorative justice, reparations and restoration in this country. We feel that one of the important things is to engage in a decolonial framework of how meaningful participation and engagement will be with the San and Khoi in terms of determining this particular epicenter in this space as a World Heritage Site and how it will be expressed. Right now, the priority is to stop the destruction, stop the desecration as we are seeing it, and to have it restored. And as I think has been put forward by Judge Goliath, heritage of this nature does not have a price attached to it. It is sacred to the San and Khoi. It is also of huge importance in terms of the collective memory of all South Africans and Africans in the region, because this is where the colonial bomb ostensibly hit. It is a ground zero precinct in as far as how the movement of forces sort of emerged and also are concentrated within this very important precinct that speaks to our history of liberation, but also our history of dispossession.
You talk about dispossession. I mean, I would presume that during apartheid in particular, this was land that you did not have control of. My knowledge of that area of Cape Town is a bit limited, but I would imagine that during apartheid you did not have control of it. Now, from the way that you see it, you may see it as if Amazon or other people, the city of Cape Town perhaps, are trying to dispossess you again.
Indeed, this is history in many ways repeating itself. It was the last company on earth at that time called the Dutch East India Company that ostensibly, through the deployment of these title deeds, stole land from the indigenous communities right here on the embankments of the Liesbeek River and by the confluence of the Black River in 1657, which resulted in the frontier wars in 1659. We now see the world's largest company on earth in a sort of more neo-colonial way colluding with the city of Cape Town and the Western Cape government in ways that are eviscerating a very important historical narrative that belongs to the ancestors of humankind herself. It connects us also to the tributary descendant communities here in the Western Cape, because it is here, for example, in 1657, when the Dutch East India Company had to import slaves from around the world from the various colonies. So here, agricultural slaves for the first time were deployed from Java, Madagascar, Goa, East and West Africa, and a multitude of a global and an African footprint sort of, descended upon these embankments, and these slaves were forcibly removed from the oceans, intermingled with the Freeburger farmers. Those who decided to escape their enslavement were welcomed by the Khoi, who had a common enemy with the Dutch. And from this, a diversity, a creolized African diversity emerged. So it is truly a centrifuge of a range of histories of intermingling, and is very decisive in as far as rekindling a dignity and history in terms of who we are as Africans. We have, through forms of administrative injustice and ethnocide over time, how terms like so-called colored has pretty much, subsumed a whole range of Khoi and San groups and other groupings that had come from around the world, divesting them and divorcing them from their Africanness. And so there is a very strong sense of renewal in as far as how this place brings about a conversation of return and of dignity.
Tariq Jenkins, spokesperson for the Indigenous Peoples Gorongai Khona Council. I do appreciate the time on Newsfeed. Thank you very much indeed. An important ruling in the courts late last week. A very interesting story to see this. This is a group of people taking on Amazon. Very interesting to see how this develops. A very important story in many ways.